Hi, my name is Christy. I am an interpreter at the Missouri Botanical Garden, and today we're going to dig in to wetlands. So what do you think of when you hear the word wetlands? Most of us think of buggy, swampy places.
However, they protect us from floods, clean our water, and provide a habitat for all types of plants and animals. And here's something that really might blow your mind. Wetlands are all around us. So what is a wetland? There are many different definitions of wetland. So for our purposes, we're going to simplify things and use the U.S. Fish and Wildlife definition. And for their definition, the land has to have one or more of the following qualities. The first quality to look for is undrained hydric soil. And what that means is that you have soil that is very, very wet. The soil probably has some clay and silt in it because both are good at holding water and causing it to pond on top. The next thing you're looking for is standing water. While some wetlands are wet all year round, there are also seasonal wetlands that dry up from time to time. As long as there is standing water for at least a few weeks out of the year, it qualifies as a wetland. The final quality you're looking for in a wetland is going to be a special type of plant called a hydrophyte. Now, hydrophytes are just plants that grow in or on the water. So if you've ever seen a water lily or a cattail, you've seen a wetland. Based on that definition, is this a wetland? Yes, this is a type of wetland called a bog. Now, bogs are the only major type of wetland that you do not see in Missouri. And that's because they only really form in the far northern parts of the northern hemisphere. The main feature of a bog is that it has a layer of dead plants on top of the water, called peat. The most common type of plant in a bog is sphagnum moss. However, you can also find a variety of carnivorous plants, like sundew and pitcher plant. Is this a type of wetland? It is. This is the type of wetland called a fen. Fens are not found in every single state. Missouri and Illinois both have them. They are fed by underground water, which comes up through the earth. They form in depressions either in the stones of the Ozark region or in prairies. Like bogs, they can have a layer of dead plant material on top. And their plant life is different than that of other wetlands. They can contain grassy wetland plants like sedge and prairie plants like Michigan lily. They also contain a variety of wildflowers, some of which are not found anywhere else in the state. Is this a wetland? It is. This is the type of wetland called a marsh. Marshes tend to be very shallow, having water less than 3 feet deep. Marshes contain grassy plants, like sedges and reeds. They can also contain submerged plants, like water milfoils, or floating plants, like duckweed and water lilies. Is this a wetland? Yes, this is a type of wetland known as a swamp, and many of us have seen them in the movies, even if we haven't seen them in real life. A swamp is a forested wetland. They are dominated by woody plants, whether they are shrubs or trees. These are cypress trees, the most stereotypical plant to find in a swamp. However, there are other types of swamp as well. Some are dominated by evergreens, while others are dominated by bushes. While the swamps I've just mentioned have standing water all year round, there's a very special type of seasonal swamp found right here in this area around the Mississippi River, and that is a bottomland forest. Bottomland forests are full of hardwood trees, like ash, certain types of oak, hickory, and maple. The understory is full of plants like wood nettle and wild grapes. Bottomland forests only have standing water when the nearby river floods. Sinkhole ponds are another type of local wetland that you might find around the St. Louis area. In areas with a lot of caves, there are frequent collapses. The resulting sinkhole can become blocked with plant matter and rock. The resulting pond becomes a unique form of wetland that is not connected to rivers and lakes around it. Because of its isolation, and because of the cave underneath, It provides a habitat for unique plants and animals. These ponds can take the form of swamps or marshes. So what is the purpose of a wetland? Wetlands tend to provide a buffer between wet and dry land. These buffers absorb excess water, and the roots of hydrophytes growing in the wetlands provide a dense mat that acts like a filter and filters water before it goes back to rivers, lakes, and oceans. Wetlands are also a source of biodiversity. This means that a lot of different types of plants and animals live there, and there are some species that can't survive without them. Wetlands provide a nursery for many species of insect, like dragonflies and damselflies, and for amphibians like frogs and toads. They also provide nesting ground for countless types of birds and many species of semi-aquatic mammal. This makes wetlands great recreational spots. Wetlands are fantastic for hiking and for boating where it's allowed. And while you visit the wetlands, you can observe the animals and plants that you see there. So what is an observation? Observation is using your senses of sight and smell and sound to learn more about your surroundings. What do you see, smell, hear, or taste? If you'll look below the video, you'll actually find an observation journal attached. This can help you collect your scientific data about all of the amazing things you see in the wetland. So I am going to show you how to do a scientific observation. Since I got a really cool picture of this damselfly, let's go ahead and talk about him first. So start with what you know. You probably know at least that this is an insect, and if that's all you know about it, write that down. I just happen to know that this is an ebony jewel-winged damselfly. Where did you see it? I saw my damselfly just a little ways away from a pond. Why do you think the damselfly was so close to the pond? Is it alive? Yes. What is he doing right now? He's just sitting on a leaf. However, he was chasing another damselfly around the pond earlier, so I can write that down too. Why do you think damselflies chase each other around? And finally, I can draw my damselfly in my observation journal. Later, I can go back and look at my observation journal and try to understand why the animals are doing what they're doing and how they interact with their environment. We can do the same type of observation for plants that we do for animals. You might recognize this plant. What is it? A cattail. Where did you see it? Well, I saw it growing right out of the water in a marsh. Is it alive? Yes. And what is it doing? Well, with plants, they're usually going to be sitting there or blowing in the breeze slightly. There's not going to be much that they will be doing. However, you might see an animal land on a cattail, or maybe even eat a cattail. Some animals use cattails as their homes, so you never know what you might observe with plants as well. While the journal only has space for 2 observations, you can do as many observations as you like. You can either print more pages, or you can use your own notebook and just use this journal as a template to give you questions to ask and ideas on how to observe. Sadly, some of our wetland friends are in trouble now. Humans have been draining, filling, and polluting wetlands for several centuries now. In fact, Missouri and Illinois have both lost 87% of their wetlands. So how can we all help the wetlands? We can take the information that we learn during our observations, and we can upload that information to places like iNaturalist.org, your local stream team, or Frogwatch USA. These are all examples of citizen science projects. Those are scientific projects that rely on people like you and me to collect information for scientists all over the world. Those citizen science projects are linked below. You can also go and learn more about the wetlands by visiting various wetland preserves around your state. You can also share that information with your family and friends. And finally, you can take civic action. Actions like creating petitions or sending letters to your local civic leaders. Together, we can all help save the wetlands.
Thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey through the wetlands. If you'd like to see more Fantastic Dig In videos, visit our YouTube channel or visit mobot.org. Also, let us know what cool things you saw in your wetland in the comments below. Thank you.